The next section of the simplified overview of the Code of Federal Regulations is who should be at your child's IEP meeting. This section will tell you the people that have to be at the meeting, the people that can be at the meeting but aren't mandatory. The important thing to remember here is everybody at the meeting must have unique knowledge of your child. And the reason for this is, as we just discussed before, is we need to determine where your child is at right now and where do we want to be in a year. And in order to do that, people who are knowledgeable about your child have to be at the meeting. Now, there's another reason for having the meeting and having these mandatory participants there. It's to get everybody on the same page. So we all know what's happening in the IEP. You know, the teachers know, the therapists know, so that you can talk about it with them and move your child forward towards their educational goals, and everybody is on the same page. So let's take a look at who should be at your child's IEP meeting. Who should be at your child's individualized education program meeting? First and foremost, it should be you, the parent. And the reason that you, the parent, should be there is you are the person that is most knowledgeable about your child, and you're your child's #1 advocate, which you should be at the meeting. So you can tell the team how your child's doing currently. You can tell the team where you want to be at in a year. You can give your opinion on what services you think need to be put in place to meet the goals and objectives that the IEP team comes up with. So you, the parents, probably the most important participant of all. The regular classroom teacher should be at the IEP meeting. This is so we can discuss exactly what's happening with your child in the classroom, in the regular classroom, what strengths we're seeing, any problems that we're encountering, how are things going in the regular classroom, academically, socially. The regular classroom teacher is a mandatory participant and an important one. The special education teacher and/or providers need to be there. This is so they can tell you what's going on with the special education services and how they're working and how your child is doing. A representative for the school must be there also, and this is important. This representative can be another number of different people. It could be a school administrator, it could be the special ed director, it could be a special education teacher, it could be the regular classroom teacher. But they have to be a representative for the school that can okay services in the meeting. Now, why is that important? Because the meeting, the IEP meeting, is people who are uniquely familiar with your child's abilities, and they're the ones designing the services that are necessary for your child to meet their goals and objectives. Therefore, there needs to be somebody from the school representative needs to be there so that they can hear what's going on and approve the necessary services for your child to reach their goals and objectives. An interpreter for your child's evaluation needs to be there also. And this is so they can take a look at the evaluation and tell you exactly where your child's at, how they tested out, how they're doing compared to other children in certain areas. This allows the team to understand the present levels of performance and the abilities of your child so that we can write the annual goals. But this is a mandatory participant, an interpreter for your child's evaluation. Other individuals may be invited by the parents or the school. Now, these first 5 here are mandatory participants: the parents, the regular classroom teacher, the special education teacher provider, the school representative, and the interpreter of the evaluation results are all mandatory participants and have to be at the meeting. Other individuals invited by the parents or school are at the parents or the school's discretion. So if you want to take an advocate with you, that's great. If your child is being tutored by somebody who's independent and you want them to come, that's welcome also. The key here is they have to be uniquely knowledgeable about your child. They just can't be somebody from off the street. And a good example is a police officer that comes to a meeting shouldn't be there because they're not uniquely familiar with guiding your child's education. Your child can also be there if appropriate. This is usually at the transition stage. Transition begins at age 14. Generally, schools often don't get students involved until, some of them do at 14, but most often it's 16, 17 years old. But if your child should be there, if you're doing transition from school to work, they should be there so that they can talk about what their interests are and have input into the IEP. things that to talk about if your child is there for transition issues is what your student wants to do. Do they want to go to college? Do they want to go straight to work? Is there vocational schools they wish to attend? And what services are necessary to meet those transition goals? So often you will see school districts also invite like vocational rehab counselors, vocational rehabilitation counselors to come and talk a little bit about what's available and those type of things. But these are people that do become mandatory once your child turns of transition age, but before that they're not. And finally, once again, here's your citations if you want to look at the actual rules and regulations. Both the Code of Federal Regulations for the federal regulations are the Nebraska Administrative Code for the state regulations.